Any controlling behavior, trying to control who you hang out with, where you're going, when you're going, what you're doing, needing to know where you are at all times, and not because they're concerned for your safety. This is a red flag in dating.
I'm going to admit something that I'm not proud of admitting, but in a previous relationship, what would you say are three other big green flags besides two individuals looking to grow and potentially do therapy early in a relationship that someone could be looking out for when they're dating?
I'm going to talk a little specifically about this, but I want to say on a higher level, emotional health, respect, mutual support. I think these are things that we can look for in any kind of relationship, but specifically in dating, once respect is not there, it's very difficult to overcome that. Communication deteriorates. Even your sense of liking this person can start to go away. Like when people talk about getting the ick, a lot of times it's because they've lost some level or degree of respect for this other person. So respect, if you have mutual respect there, I think that is a big green flag. Another one for me personally, you can see yourself solving problems with this person. I think a lot of people are looking for, we have the same preferences. We like the same movies. We like the same sports teams. But those things are not going to matter if you can't solve life's problems together. So can you solve problems? Can you see yourself solving problems with this person? Because if you're choosing a life partner specifically, you're going to get the whole gamut of life problems that you will need to solve eventually together. And finally, I think a green flag, especially for long-term relationship, if not commitment of marriage, is aligned values and goals. Again, I don't think you have to have the same goals or the same values to a T. But if there's alignment of what you both want your lives to look like, I think that's a very big green flag.
Yeah, I'm an athlete, so in the physical world of athletics, when your body is out of alignment or your bones are out of alignment just a little bit, it's painful. You feel like you're constantly compensating to try to just manage daily life. And when a relationship is out of alignment, it's also going to feel overwhelming and exhausting. Like you're just trying to manage to get through the day. So alignment early on is so key. And one of the things that you said there is, can you solve problems together? I think it's so important early in a dating experience to create mini challenges if you can, not on purpose, but they could be adventures. You could go on a weekend trip together and see, how do we handle logistics? How do we handle traveling? How do we handle if something's, the plane is delayed or something? Just how do we respond to any little minor challenge in life? And can we solve this and be victorious together? I think that's a brilliant thing when looking for someone to date with green flags. What about the negative side that we should look out for, or the red flags when we're dating someone? What would you suggest to look out for?
So a couple of these are somewhat the inverse of those green flags, but I'll start with one that's not, and it's completely different, is love bombing. I think this is a red flag in dating.
But it feels so good
It does
to receive that love, just to receive, shower me with love constantly. It's amazing, right?
Yes, and that's why it can be a red flag that's difficult to identify because you're being blinded by love.
Oh, man.
And those butterflies and the big feelings, like I can't sleep because I'm so excited to see them, or all that kind of stuff. It feels really good in the moment, but for those that have been in multiple relationships, you do know that those feelings do fade eventually. And once the puppy love honeymoon phase has passed, it's what's beyond that actually makes up the rest of the relationship or the rest of your life. And those people I'm referencing that you've been in multiple relationships, obviously that means that those big feelings, it wasn't enough to keep you together in the previous ones, right? So, love bombing, for those that aren't super familiar with this term, which it's now being talked about everywhere.
It's also thinking about, this is a stranger that you just met within a week or two, potentially, that you don't know. You wouldn't let your friends do these things that you've known for years, but you're allowing a stranger to cross these boundaries that maybe don't feel like it because there's generosity or there's gifts or there's attention or affection that you normally don't get from other people. So it feels good, but then it's also confusing. So just be aware of that for sure. I think that's something to look out for.
Absolutely. And a couple of other red flags in dating, just disrespect, dismissiveness of you, or they belittling you, disregarding your opinions. kind of mentioned this with the love bombing piece, but kind of showing any controlling behavior, trying to control who you hang out with, where you're going, when you're going, what you're doing, needing to know where you are at all times, and not because they're concerned for your safety, but rather because of a variety of other reasons. And kind of related to that, but a little bit different too, is a lack of accountability. Maybe they are refusing to take responsibility for their actions at certain times, consistently blaming others. This could even include you feeling like you're being gaslit. And, this can also point to related behaviors of avoiding just addressing issues. Because if they're not taking accountability or not taking responsibility for their own actions, it's going to be very difficult for both of you to solve problems together.
I'm gonna admit something that I'm not proud of admitting, but in a previous relationship, I wanted to go on a guy's trip, and the person I was dating said, "If you go on that trip, I'm gonna break up with you." And I was like, "What? There's not gonna be any girls there. It's just guys. We're just hanging out. We want, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything crazy." But she wasn't confident enough, in whatever reason, in me going alone on this trip with guys. And after a couple weeks of thinking about it, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with the stress or the consequences of her reactions. And so I kind of was just like, all right, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to go. I kind of resented that. If you could coach me back then, or anyone else who is giving in based on a threat of breaking up with them if they want to do something fun for themselves, that isn't going to threaten the relationship, but it's just imaginary. How would you have coached me then? And whatever my insecurity was, my lack of courage was, to just say, no, I'm going to go on my guy's trip. And if you don't trust me, then we shouldn't be together. How would you have coached me in that process? Or for anyone who feels like they have a controlling partner that wants them to live in their terms and not enjoy the life that they want?
Yeah, I think you kind of just answered that. You said something about kind of the leave it or take it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to go on this trip and if you can't accept that, we can't be in a relationship anymore. Imagine that this is going to happen for the rest of your life.
Ugh.
And it's never going to change. Yes or no question. Do you accept that? Simple as that, And
Yeah.
I think it's something that people can think about and reflect on in relationships all the time. Imagine that this behavior, this pattern, this thing that happened is never, ever going to change. Can you accept that? And if the answer is no, then I think you have your answer. And the reason I want people to imagine that this will never change is one of the reasons I see some relationships deteriorate is because one of the people expected for this person to change, and they're dating for this potential of this person being somebody else. And that often falls short of what their expectations were. So I don't think we should expect people to change. It's great if they do, but they got to want to do it themselves. So if you're letting stuff go thinking, oh, it's going to change eventually, I'll be able to change her or what have you, and you may be disappointed.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more inspiring clips like this, make sure to click right here to subscribe and click right here to watch that next video that is specific to support you in your life.